Hi, I'm Midge Shoemaker, and I'm making a random ranting video or random ramblings video, whichever you want to call it. I am currently sitting in my car because I am waiting for my Brazilian friend. She is taking her citizenship test, so I figure this is the perfect time for me to make a video because I have nothing else to do while I wait. And apparently, I'm not allowed to be inside while she takes a test. So, I can't even sit in the waiting room. So I'm like, all right, fine. I will randomly rant in my car. So I apologize. My windows are down, so there's outside noises, and there might be other random people walking by and making comments. So also random ranting, random ramblings, random randomness. So this is my random video. Anyway, I kind of want to make a video just because it's been like a month since I was doing my 100 weeks of creating a healthier, happier lifestyle. And I kind of want to do like an in-between video because I'm not giving up on creating a healthier, happier lifestyle and being healthier and happier in my life. But I realized I didn't have a whole lot of specific goals, and I had a lot of other personal issues and things going on. So I decided I'm just going to start over with another 100 weeks because I need to do something, and I need to get motivated to do it again. And I'm kind of coming out of whatever depression, weird phase thing that I was going through. I think part of it is just that I've never been a good eater. I've always been like eating like one meal a day. I probably binge eat, and when I get depressed, I don't eat, which is not a very good thing for me. Or I will spend money that's supposed to be for bills to order food that's usually like pizza or something not healthy for me because I just don't want to go deal with making food. And then I will eat probably the equivalent of 2 meals in one, and that's all I eat for the day. So not good, not healthy. But that's how I live my life, which is really sad. So I need to eat healthier foods. I need to eat more frequently, more often. I need to have specific goals as to what it is that I'm trying to do, and so I can track it better. So I did make a list of goals, and then when I make my first video for my starting over 100 weeks, I will go over my list of goals. Also, my list of goals is not with me, so I can't do it in this video anyway. Anyway, that's my crazy evil laugh. Not really evil, just crazy. Anyway, see, ramblings. So I'm trying to do my goals again, but I kind of want to share what I've been dealing with for the last month or so. I think I had a lot of problems when I started taking blood thinners, and I know that it really triggered my depression. It just amplified my depression. I was really having a hard time with emotions and just really having a hard time functioning on those blood thinners. And it was really bad on the first ones that I took, and then it wasn't as bad on the second ones, but still bad. And I know my sister's still taking some blood thinners, and her emotions are all over the place with the blood thinners, and her hormones are everywhere. And I mean, it just got everything out of whack. My blood pressure went sky high and everything, and now my cholesterol is high. I'm still pre-diabetic. I was pre-diabetic 3 years ago. I'm still pre-diabetic. I don't really want to be pre-diabetic. I want to be like in the normal range, so I don't have to deal with any kind of diabetic anything. But I'm grateful I haven't tipped the scale. I just don't want to tip the scale, so I want to start eating healthier foods so I don't end up becoming diabetic, because I hate needles and I hate the idea of having to prick myself or check my blood sugar every day before I eat foods or after I eat foods. So I don't want to have to do that. Don't want to have to do that. So I had a nurse practitioner that put me on some blood pressure medication I took for like maybe 5 days, maybe a week, and then I stopped taking it. And to be perfectly honest, I mean, they were what you call water pills. It's supposed to lower your blood pressure. And she said if you lower the top number, if you lower the bottom number, which is what the water pills are supposed to do, then the top number will come down. Well, I discovered that the top, like going off of the blood thinners in and of itself, my blood pressure dropped, and the bottom number went from like 100 to like 90 or 85. And by eating more whole foods and drinking more water, just being hydrated in and of itself, drinking more water, my blood pressure went back down to like normal. I think the top number is still a little high. It's like in the 130s, and it should be in 120s, but it's not like it was 160. So that was really bad. So, I mean, it's closer. Plus the water pills aren't doing anything for the top number. So there's really no reason for me to take the blood pressure medication. And I'm only saying all of this because, one, that's kind of my justification, and two, it's my body and I need to listen to my body. But also, anybody that's watching these videos, yes, you need to listen to your body and do what you feel is best for you. Like, you can work with your doctors and nutritionists and whoever it is, and if you feel like they're telling you the right information, it feels right for you, it works for you, the medication works for you, then take the medication by all means. Don't just stop doing something or stop medication just because I'm crazy, and I do. I'm just saying, like, I haven't had high blood pressure before in my life, and even though it kind of runs in my family, my sister has it, my grandma had it, I haven't had it, and I have anxiety, panic attacks. I'm very anxious all the time, and my blood pressure's not been high, so, which, of course, my emotions being out of whack would make my blood pressure higher. And then just looking up online, exercising and things like that helps to lower the top number for your blood pressure. So I've been trying to exercise a little bit more, and it's come down a little bit. So that's good. That's all good. And so then I saw her again. My cholesterol was really high, but my blood pressure is normal. It's within the normal range. So I'm like, I'm not taking the blood pressure medication. So I don't really care. But then she has this thing where she does like a 3-month prescription. She gave me a prescription for the cholesterol medication. And to be perfectly honest, I'm like, it's $129 for a 3-month supply. I'm like, I could have called her and got it broken down so it's more manageable, like $30 or $40 a month for a prescription instead of, $129 for 3 months. But she was also telling me that there's side effects like leg pain and other things that can be really bad. And so if I had any issues, like only take half a dose to begin with. If the side effects are really bad, she'll put me on a different medication. I'm like, I already have leg pain from my injury that's healing. How am I supposed to know the difference if it's the pain from side effects from the medication or if it's just the pain from the injury? And why do I want to take more medications that have side effects? Because my body is recovering from all of the side effects from the blood thinners. This is insane. And so I'm like, no, I'm not going to take that. I'm going to talk to a dietitian, and I'm going to try to figure out how to exercise and eat healthier foods so that I can fix my cholesterol with diet and exercise, which I know can be really hard to do, but I'm going to try that before I try the medication. And if I can't do it with diet and exercise, then I will try the medication. But I want to try to fix it naturally first before I just jump straight into medication. And then she wants me to see a regular doctor to get on medication for my AC1 numbers, to get my numbers down. Even though I'm not diabetic yet, she wants me to be on medication to lower that number so that I don't become diabetic, I guess. And I'm like, again, let me try diet and exercise, which I haven't tried in the last 3 years, and my numbers are exactly the same as they were 3 years ago. So I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm like, I've gained 30 pounds in the last 3 years, and my AC1 numbers are the same as they were 3 years ago. So I'm still pre-diabetic, which is not a good place to be, but I haven't crossed over to being diabetic, and I've gained weight, so it's not my weight that's causing my diabetes or pre-diabetic state, I don't think. It's probably that I'm just not eating the right foods, not eating healthy foods, not eating enough foods, not eating foods often enough, etc., etc. So, again, I haven't tried in the last 3 years diet and exercise. It's only recently, since I was like freaking out and just my health all over the place with those stupid blood thinners, that I'm like, okay, I can't live like this. I have to change. I have to make changes. And I've been trying, but it's really hard. And it's really hard because I haven't had specific goals. Just I want to work on these 6 areas, and just without specific goals doesn't really work very well. So like I said, I've made some specific goals I will be sharing in my next video when I start over my 100 weeks, probably tomorrow. Most likely tomorrow I will do that. But anyway, that's my goal right now, is to do it tomorrow. But at least I have a list of goals. At least I have something in place that I can try, that I can work on, that I can report my progress and see how it's going. So I'm like, I'm not doing that. And plus, I don't have insurance, so I'm not going to go see a doctor, and I'm not going to go ask a doctor to put me on medication to lower my AC1 numbers, when again, I could probably do it with diet and exercise. I'm going to try to do it with diet and exercise because I don't like the side effects of medications. And I discovered something else. My monthly cycle was late. It didn't come the end of December, the beginning of January, like it was supposed to. And it kind of freaked me out because I don't want to be in menopause. I want an opportunity to get married and have more kids. That would be fantastic for me. That's still something I want. But I know I can't control that. But I'm just like, okay, I know I'm 43, but I still want to keep having my monthly cycles for a little bit longer if I can. I'm just not ready for them to stop right now. And it was really hard for me to be like, okay, maybe it is, and maybe this is never going to happen for me, and the whole bunch of whatever. I got really emotional. I was crying. I was praying. And then I just had this impression like God was just telling me to stop taking the aspirin, because I'm supposed to be taking aspirin to taper off the aspirin from the blood thinner. So I still had to keep taking something in my system. I'm supposed to be doing it for another 2 months at least, I think. Um, and I was like, seriously? And then the thought was like, if I want my cycle to start, I need to stop taking the aspirin. I'm like, that is the weirdest thing ever. So I looked it up online, and apparently your liver controls your blood flow, and it controls that time of the month and everything else like that. And if your liver is not functioning at full capacity, or functioning properly, it can cause your cycle to stop or get messed up, your hormones and everything else to get messed up. And I was like, well, that's not cool. So so I stopped taking the aspirin, and within a week, my cycle started like it was supposed to. And then a month later, because it's been a month, it came when it was supposed to, like normal. And I was like, wow. So God really knows what he's doing when he tells you something and he prompts you with something, puts that idea in your head. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about. He knows our bodies better because he's the ones that made them, designed them, created them. So even though I don't always understand the reasons behind them, I know that God does. And when I listen, I get answers and I get help and I get guidance in that direction. And I am so grateful for that. So I'm like, okay, this is awesome. So I stopped taking the aspirin. I think it takes a while for that to get out of your system as well. But all of that, and then the holidays and everything combined together, and all of that messing with my liver, with my emotions, and just the holidays and combinations and triggers and things, it just made it really hard for me to function, because I have depression. And sometimes it's just really hard to get out of bed. Sometimes it's just really hard to function. And sometimes I get to a place where I'm just apathetic and I just don't care. And I have no motivation. I have no desire. I have nothing. I feel super overwhelmed by everything and anything. And anything that I have to do for the day is just too much. And I just can't function for the day. And I had a lot of days like that in the last month. And I got a couple of colds like back to back, which is ridiculous too. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I didn't realize that taking aspirin could be part of that, along with the blood thinners, along with all the other medications I'm not taking. But I've been taking multivitamins, like over-the-counter multivitamins. So I'm not taking those anymore either, which I'm going to explain. But anyway, so I've just been struggling with all of these things, and I'm just like, And then I reached out to my friend in December, my mentor, and she worked with a nutritionist to help her when she found out that she was like diabetic or almost diabetic, and she just didn't want to have that as a diagnosis. So she was like, I don't want to be diabetic, but my blood sugar is really out of control. So she's like, help me. So she lost like 20, 30 pounds, and she's got her numbers down. It's like in the normal range with changing her diet and exercise. And I'm like, this is cool. This is awesome. So I got the information from her for her dietitian, nutritionist, whatever. I reached out to him. It was $50 a month, so I had to wait until January. So I had the money to pay him. So I paid him, and I said, hey, I'm really worried about my cholesterol. And if I'm perfectly honest, my cholesterol is my biggest concern, because my bad cholesterol is like 225, and it's supposed to be under 200. And my bottom number is like 19, and it's supposed to be like 30 or something like that. So I'm like to the extreme, not good with my cholesterol. I need to fix these things. So I want to make sure that I can fix them. Like, can you help with that? I was like, yeah, we can help with that. And I'm also pre-diabetic, and I mentioned that I, have high blood pressure, I guess, but I think the high blood pressure is just a side effect of medication. So I'm going to just stop saying that I have high blood pressure, because I don't really. My blood pressure is fine. I keep checking it, and I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Top number's a little bit high, but if I keep exercising, it's going down, it's getting better. So I'm like, I'm not going to worry about my blood pressure. My blood pressure's fine. But I do need to worry about my cholesterol, because it is so crazy out of whack. And I am really overweight as well. But as far as priorities go, first of all, I want to take care of my cholesterol. That is my main priority. Second of all, it would be nice to like lower my AC1 numbers, whatever. But actually, probably second of all, it would be nice to figure out what's going on with my body, figure out why everything is out of whack, if it's just because of side effects of the blood thinners, or if there's something else going on. Because I think there were other things going on previously. I think the blood thinners just amplified whatever it was or tipped everything over the edge that was already a problem before. Because I saw a doctor like 3-4 years ago and told her that I was like gaining weight. I gained like over 20 pounds in a year, and I've never weighed that much in my life before. I'd never gained weight that quickly before, never. And I was like, this is not normal for me. And she was like, well, you're pre-diabetic and you need to lose weight. That did not help me any at all. And I'm like, I'm here because I'm gaining an excessive amount of weight. There's something wrong with my body. It's not functioning properly. I'm also tired all the time, like all the time tired. And I would love to not be tired all the time. I'm also thirsty all the time. And this, I know that if you're thirsty all the time, it can be a sign of diabetes. But I'm going to point out that I had a friend that was helping me with like 170 pounds to try to lose weight. And I was drinking like 8 glasses of water a day, and I told her I was still thirsty. She's like, well, if you're still thirsty, keep drinking, then drink more water. And at that point, I wasn't even pre-diabetic. I was like in the normal range for my AC1 numbers were like in the normal range. So I wasn't anywhere near being diabetic or pre-diabetic at that point in my life, because I'd been tested. So anyway, so there's that. I'm like, okay, so I know I've always been thirsty and I just can't seem to get hydrated. So I know that that's an issue for me too. So anyway, sorry, I distracted by a text. My friend is done with her test, so I better hurry up with my video before she comes back out. Anyway, so I know that these are other issues with my body that I would like to figure out. And yes, I would like to get my AC1 numbers down so that I'm below the pre-diabetic range. I'm back in the normal range, and I don't have to worry about being diabetic, because I don't ever want to become diabetic. That's just not going to be fun for me. I don't want to deal with that. So those are things I don't want to deal with that. And then, of course, my weight is an issue. But I figure if I can resolve the cholesterol and the health issues and the pre-diabetic issues, that the weight will kind of just come off and fix itself in the process, because you got to eat healthier and you got to exercise and do all of that to solve all of the other problems. So yes, the weight is an issue, and yes, I need to lose over like 130 pounds, maybe 140, somewhere in there. But yes, I need to lose that, but that's not my top priority. The reason I'm doing this list is because I was working with a nutritionist. We didn't really discuss like my priorities, but like the first week he was like, hey, eat more vegetables, like double your vegetable intake. And I happened to have, like, for the one day that I gave him a list of food, I happened to have had spinach with my eggs. And I was like, okay, gotta eat more vegetables, double my vegetable intake. But on a normal day, I don't eat vegetables. So double zero is still 0 vegetables. Which, you know, that's just kind of me being a little bit sarcastic and a brat. But I did try to eat at least 2 servings of vegetables every day. And that was hard. That was really hard for me. And then he gave me like some kind of video assignment, whatever. He told me to eat more. So the next week he told me to eat more things like broccoli, carrots, more root vegetables, whatever the heck those are, and berries. So eat some strawberries, some blackberries, and some raspberries. Now, I have a problem with berries. I love berries, don't get me wrong. I love fruits. But I grew up in Utah. We had strawberries. We had a raspberry bush. We had apricots fresh off the tree. So I don't like to eat apricots from the store, because apricots, when you pick them and they're ripe, they just kind of melt in your mouth and they're so yummy and sweet. You buy them in the store and they're hard and they're bitter, because apricots do not ripen off of the tree, but they always pick them not ripe because they ripen too quickly. Like once they're ripe, they'll go bad within a day or two. So you can't really, unless you can them, like you can can them and then they'll last. But we always were canning apricots, but I guess they don't can apricots when they're fresh off the tree. They can them when they're raw, or they sell them when they're raw because they won't go bad, but they just don't taste good. So I can't buy fresh apricots at the grocery store because they're not really fresh. They're picked early and they taste nasty. Because I'm spoiled. I had the real thing. I feel the same way about raspberries and strawberries because I had them off the vine, off the bush. Like, we had them. So when I go to the store and I go buy a box of strawberries, they're $4 a box for the little thing of, like, you know, an ounce of, or pound of strawberries, whatever it is. I don't know, 16 ounces? I don't know, 8 ounces box. It's like $4 for like 20 strawberries. And I'm like, that's ridiculous, for one. And for two, you can see the yellow, you can see the white. They're not ripe. They haven't finished ripening. And again, they don't ripen after you pick them. So unless they're like that nice, dark, bright dark red color. They're not ripe. And then that, when you bite them into them, they're nice and juicy and sweet. Otherwise, they're bitter and tart. And I don't like tart. I like the sweet. So the only way I was going to eat the strawberries is with oatmeal. So I chopped up the strawberries and ate it with oatmeal. I bought some blackberries. I didn't see any raspberries. I'm like, screw the raspberries. And I had to keep a daily food journal that I had to report to the nutritionist for every day that what I ate for the whole week. And then I was going to talk to him again the next week. And so I cooked the strawberries with the oatmeal. It's the only way I could eat them. And I still cut off the white parts because they just weren't ripe. And I had dinner at Mom and Dad's Shoemaker's on Sunday, and they had blueberries in the salad. So there were blueberries in the salad. And so when I'm doing this, I lost 2 pounds in the week, which was awesome. I got down to like 266 instead of 270. But I said that it's just like 2 pounds because I've been fluctuating from like 268 to 270 for like months now, just sitting in that 2 pound range. So I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. And I went under 268. I got all the way to 266. And I'm like, yes, I lost 2 pounds. This is amazing. So, super excited about that. So I'm telling him I lost 2 pounds. And I bought some brown rice. I prefer brown rice to the white rice because I noticed the white rice is enriched and it doesn't tell you what it's enriched with and probably bleached or something. And the brown rice is like, oh, we just picked it straight off there and there might be some little, grains and other stuff like from the fields, whatever that didn't get out. So make sure you rinse your rice off first. I'm like, awesome. Love it. So I had some brown rice and some hamburger and some vegetables. I mixed them all together to have for a meal. So I'm talking to my nutritionist and, the third week, like, okay, I'm doing good. I've doubling my vegetables. I'm eating fruits now. This is a positive thing. And, but he was like, eat something other than grapefruit. And then he's like, okay, we need to stop eating the oatmeal. And I'm like, okay, but I'm eating oatmeal because oatmeal is good for my cholesterol. And I'm trying to work on getting my cholesterol down. And then he's like, don't eat blueberries. And I was like, I can't have blueberries? And I looked up blueberries and I'm like, blueberries are full of antioxidants and they're good for your cholesterol. So I'm like, why can't I have blueberries? I had like 3 blueberries. I had them with the salad at Mom and Dad's Shoemaker's. It's not like I had a bunch at my house or whatever, but I was like, okay. And then I told them that I had the rice. He's like, don't eat the rice. And I was like, what? Don't eat the rice? I'm like, I gotta eat the rice. And I was like, well, I'm not going to throw away the stuff. I still have more that I'm going to finish eating what I already made. I'm not going to throw it away. He's like, okay, that's your choice, but it's going to slow down your progress. And I was like, okay. So I started thinking about it after that conversation with him. And I realized that I'm not okay with the way that he was doing it. He had me join like a diabetic Facebook group, which is supposed to be like one of those support groups where everybody's like dealing with the same thing, which is awesome. It's really good. And people are talking about how their numbers went way down. And then he was telling me that I shouldn't have like his video and the information that I've read said like no more than 10 carbs every 2 to 5 hours and not to go hungry. So you should be eating like not 2 to 5 hours, 2 to 3 hours. You should eat every 2 to 3 hours. Never let your body be hungry. Really hard for me, as I discussed earlier, because I don't eat. So having to eat that often is really hard for me. Right now, my goal is to eat like every 3 to 4 hours. Try not to be too hungry. Try to eat foods that fill me up because I told them I eat all these vegetables and I don't feel full. Like I'm eating a ton of food and I don't feel full. And it drives me crazy. So when I'm going to eat, I want to feel full. I don't want to keep feeling hungry. And so he was like, well, eat more fibrous foods or fibrous vegetables, but don't eat potatoes and don't eat starches and don't eat grains. And I'm like, so I can't eat anything that's going to make me feel full, but I'm supposed to keep eating food constantly. This is insane. So I didn't like that. And then he was like telling me not to eat more than 5 carbs like every 2 to 3 hours. And I was like, 5 carbs? Like I have to count carbs? I'm sorry. And then he wanted me to throw away food. Like if I bought food or it was bad for me, I'm supposed to just throw it away, like take one bite and then throw the rest of it away. And I'm like, money's tight for me. If I spent the money and I took the time to make something, I'm going to eat it. I'm not going to throw it away. And if I splurge and I bought a hamburger, like, I'm going to make myself sick eating a hamburger or something. I'm going to spend $10 on a hamburger. I'm going to eat it. I'm not going to throw it away. I'm like, I can't live in a world where I have to throw away my food. If it's bad or gone nasty or I don't like it, then I'm going to throw it away. Obviously, I bought some bell peppers. I bought them in a bag instead of like individually, and I opened them up and there was like a hole in them and they were like wrinkly and all that stuff. Yes, I'm going to throw them away because they look nasty. I'm not going to eat that. But I just cooked up some hamburgers, some brown rice, and some vegetables. It's still good. It tastes good. It's good for me as far as I'm concerned. And he's like, it has rice in it. You can't eat it. Throw it away. I'm like, I'm not throwing that away. That's good food. So I'm like, I can't live in a world where I have to throw stuff away. And then don't eat oatmeal, even though it's good for my cholesterol, because And then I realized, I'm like, it's going to be harder for me to lose weight if I eat that stuff. It's going to take longer. And I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with that because I'm eating food. And the fact that I'm eating food, my body's letting me lose a little bit of weight. I'm okay with that. I lost 2 pounds eating what I just ate, and you're telling me I can't eat it. This doesn't make sense. It doesn't register in my brain. And I realized that I don't fit into those one size fits all kind of a things. And he's focused on me losing weight, and he's focused on me not becoming diabetic, which is great. But I'm worried about my cholesterol. And I'm sure maybe that'll bring my cholesterol down too, but I don't know for sure. And I don't want to focus specifically on that. I wanted something, my expectation was focused on something specific towards me and my needs and what I am dealing with. And he was asking about all my health issues, the migraines and everything else like that. Oh, you didn't mention you have migraines. What other stuff do you have? So I mentioned all the stuff that I have. And he's like, okay, we'll work on that. I'm like, okay, cool. And then he's like, don't eat all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, but I don't. And then I realized, I'm like, it's because he's, focused on whether or not I lose weight. I'm not counting carbs. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life counting carbs. In fact, a few years ago, I did like a health challenge with my family. And one of the parts of the health challenge was like, how many calories a day are you going to eat? And I was like, okay, well, my sister was like, I'm going to do 1,500 or something. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll do like, the same. And I realized that I struggled to eat 1,000 calories a day, a day. So I put 1,200 calories a day for my goal just because I was trying to make myself eat that many calories, not because I was trying to like lose the weight. I was trying to actually eat calories because I need to eat calories. And ideally, you're supposed to have like a 2,000 calorie diet. And I'm like, I don't eat 2,000 calories a day. I struggle to eat 1,000 calories a day. So I'm not currently counting my calories either. But if I was going to count something, it should probably be my calories, because obviously that tells me right there, if I'm not getting enough calories in my diet, that I'm not eating enough food and I need to eat more. Because if you don't eat enough, then your body thinks you're starving it, and it turns everything you eat into fat, which is why I am so overweight, because I just turn everything into fat, or part of it. So I decided I'm not going to continue with his program. I'm not going to keep paying him $50 a month to tell me to throw food away. So, or to tell me I can't eat foods that I know are good for my cholesterol. I can't do that. So I'm not going to continue with that program, because I am not a one-size-fits-all type of person. I don't think anybody is a one-size-fits-all type of person. I can't have dairy, so I know that. Some people can't have nuts. Some people are vegetarians. Some people are vegans. Everybody has their own whatever works for them thing. Plus, we all have different taste buds. There's foods that some people like and can eat, and that I like the taste of spicy foods until it burns my tongue, and I'm like, okay, I just don't do spicy foods. I just can't. I don't like, so I'm a very picky eater, but that's me. Everybody has what they like, what they don't like, and what works for them and what works for their body. But ideally, I think everyone should be trying to eat more whole foods and less processed foods, because processed foods and artificial flavoring, artificial stuff is not good for anybody's body, because our bodies aren't meant to digest artificial things. They're meant to digest real things. Also, I think everybody's body is meant to have like variety. So we're supposed to like change up what we eat. We're not supposed to eat the same things over and over and over again, because we get bored of them. Our body gets bored of them. We need other nutrients from other foods. So I'm trying to find different foods every week, buy different stuff that I can eat for the week, so that I don't get bored of what I'm eating, so my body doesn't develop an intolerance to something that I'm eating. And so that I feel like, but also that I'm trying to eat whole foods, make whole foods. So these are things that I need to do to be healthier for me. And then I was thinking about it, and I realized one day, I did mention to this nutritionist that I drink like 80 to 120 ounces of water a day. And I told him I felt dehydrated all the time. He's like, well, how much water do you drink? And I told him, and he was like, oh, well, that should do it. He also told me I shouldn't drink juice anymore. And I was like, but I like my juice. I like to buy the Minute Maid juice, though, because they do like 100%, like it's just juice concentrate plus, I forget, it's like apple juice. They have apple juice concentrate, water, and then ascorbic acid, and that's it. Although the cranberry juice, they always have like multiple juices, and it's not really good to get that unless you get like straight cranberry juice. But if you get like whole juice or something, or you juice it yourself, like I have a juicer, so I can make my own homemade orange juice or grapefruit juice or whatever. I don't really like orange juice, so I don't really do that one very much. But if I bought more grapefruits, or went to my friend's house or my parents' house and said, give me some grapefruit, or my aunt's house, because they all have grapefruit trees, I could get some free grapefruits, and I could juice some grapefruit, and I could have grapefruit juice. Or I could just eat grapefruits, because they're really good for you. So anyway, I got to thinking about why I might have issues with hydration. And I was talking to so I looked it up online, and I found this thing that's called malabsorption. And I posted something online and my sister, like, that I'd found something that might explain my problems, because malabsorption means your body's not absorbing the nutrients. And if you don't have enough moisture and nutrients in your, like water and moisture, like in your liver and other things, then your liver doesn't function properly, your organs don't function properly, and it makes you tired all the time. So I'm like, great, I'm thirsty and tired all the time, so that answers that problem. I just need to figure out how to get my body to absorb nutrients. And if my body's not absorbing nutrients, maybe that's why I'm becoming intolerant with insulin. Maybe that's why my cholesterol is out of whack. Maybe this explains all of my problems that I'm having. So I posted something on Facebook like that, and then my sister's like, yeah, Google University is really good, but you should probably check with a doctor. And another friend said, yeah, every time I self-diagnose myself, I end up being wrong. And I'm like, yes, I need a doctor to actually say that that's what I have, but it matches the symptoms that I have, and it makes sense to me. And mentioned it to my sister-in-law, and she's like, oh yeah, that's a real thing, and I have that, and this is stuff that you can do. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm going to try doing that stuff until I can see a doctor and talk to a doctor to get an official diagnosis, but it makes sense to me. So I'm like, she was telling me I need to get some salt water, like sea salt, not like the salt that you buy, like table salt, but like sea salt or kosher salt to put in your water. So it makes it a little bit aerated and it helps your body dissolve stuff, absorb stuff better, because sometimes you drink all that water and it just goes, like for me, it feels like it just goes straight through me and I'm still dehydrated. So I'm like, what's the point of drinking more water if I just have to pee all the time and it doesn't do me any good? So, and if I'm eating all of these whole foods, if my body doesn't digest them, it's just flushing them or turning them into fat. Again, it doesn't do me any good. So, these are things that I am learning about myself and I'm trying to figure out, and I've been praying about and doing the things that feel like they're right for me. So I'm going to try to make changes based on that and not necessarily based on this guy that was like the nutritionist. I mean, he's focused on his group that's diabetic and he's got people losing weight. He also wants people to use stevia, and the stevia plant is fantastic, except that it's not FDA approved. So they do like a stevia extract and it's only like 12% stevia and the rest is all artificial in the stevia sugar. And I was like, okay, so I would have to find some kind of other natural sugar or not use sugar in cooking or baking. And I'm like, I don't use a lot of sugar in cooking, but in baking I do, and I like to bake. So and then can't have oat flour either, and I'm like, but oat flours and whole grains are good for your cholesterol. So, and I can eat those, I just need my body to process them. So I'm going to try the sea salt and the other stuff, and I will mention that, see how my progress goes when I start making my weekly videos again. But this is kind of my in-between catch-up, my rant, because sometimes doctors just don't delve in or look at things, or they're like, oh, just, sleep more, exercise, lose weight. There's your answer. And how do I do that? You're not setting me up with a nutritionist. You're not running more tests because everything on the surface looks normal. So I'm like, dig deeper. There's something else wrong with me. Instead of sending me away and making me feel like I'm crazy or I don't know what I'm talking about, or like, it's a figment of my imagination that I'm having these problems. So it's nice for me even to know that there's something out there called malabsorption that fits the symptoms that I'm having. So I'm like, yes, these are real symptoms. Yes, this really happens. Yes, this could really be the answer. It could be something completely different, and that's okay. But at least I know that there's something out there, so it makes me feel a little bit less crazy, or like I'm making things up, or like I'm a hypochondriac.